Elizabeth, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
When I saw your background and the combination of your talents, I couldn't wait to speak with you because I think that you have unique wisdom that you can share with artists in particular that can help them to take their practice to the next level.
Thank you. I have spent the last like 15 years of my life doing what I'm doing, and honestly, my entire life as a hobbyist. So it's something near and dear to me, something that I never gave up on, which a lot of us can't say, unfortunately. And when you reached out for this interview, I was so excited because I think we definitely align.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. So I would love for you to start us out by sharing your background and how your career evolved to its current form, in which you not only take women's photos for their profiles, but you teach them to discover their purpose.
For sure. Yeah, it's my favorite thing. It's I have the best job in the world. So I'll take you all the way back to when childhood's tough on a lot of us. Did not have the happiest or healthiest childhood, but we have family that cares about us. And I had an aunt in particular who is only like 8 years older than me. So when I was 8, she was 16. Her grandfather was retiring from his photojournalist job. And he gave her everything to set up a modest studio and darkroom in her attic. And she brought me along to set it up. And I'd never done anything like that before because little kid. When I saw an image appear on paper where there was nothing before, like from film to print, it was like magic. It was like real magic. And I was hooked. I was like, this is absolutely what I need to be doing with the rest of my life. So I hung on to that. And in high school, like in middle school, high school, like I took every art class I could that they would let me take. And I wasn't super book smart, had a little trouble in school, and ended up going to vocational school during high school to do hair and makeup. And the point was to do it for photo shoots. And that did not end up panning out. A little while after, almost right after high school, I had nowhere to live. So I had to do whatever was going to make me the most money the quickest, which was doing hair. So I did that for a few years and ended up getting married really young, ended up having kids really young. My then husband was still in school. We couldn't afford for both of us. So I was working 2 jobs. He was going to school. Like it was the whole thing. And then we got divorced. And I was struggling because I knew I did not want to go back to doing hair. I really did not have any skills for the workplace, besides like minimum wage jobs. So I did get a job at a bank, and I was miserable. And there was a friend of mine that had said, okay, if age, circumstance, money, if none of that mattered, what would you be doing? And it was just knee-jerk reaction. I would be a photographer. That friend gave me a link to a contest that was going on from a magazine it was when Photoshop was still, it wasn't a subscription. It was like you had to buy the program. Yeah. So it was Photoshop, it was a laptop, and it was a new digital camera, and I ended up winning, and that started the career. Yep. It was just meant to be. Yeah. So a few years after, well, actually a year after I did that, I was in business and I was able to quit my job at the bank, and move on to weddings and outdoor. And then eventually we ended up with a portrait studio, and it is my happy place, for sure. And I love specializing in women's portraiture. When I'm able to take somebody who is almost angry sometimes that they have to come in, like their boss tells them, okay, you need a headshot. And of course, all of us are like, no, Like I have this picture from 10 years ago that I love and I'm not changing it. So, they're not super excited all the time to be in. And take her from that to she can't wait to do it again and is telling everyone, oh my God, no, this was great. And it's rare that I have a dry eye in reveal. And they don't get to see themselves from someone else's point of view. Where if you think about it, we're always looking in the mirror at eye contact. We're lifting the selfie up a little high, like we're always seeing ourselves from our own perspective. And when you see yourself through someone else's eyes, it is profound. It really is. And getting these women to open up, like starting in hair and makeup, I'm always super interested in why and how did you get into the career choice that you're doing now? Like what was it that drove you? And if it's, mortgage foreclosure, like nobody wants to do that. So like what got you there? And just kind of introducing, but what did you want to do? Like if you wanted to be a rock star when you were little and you answered the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're probably still singing really loud in the car. Or if it was, I want to be an astronaut, you're probably still looking up at the stars. You don't lose it. You know what you want, but somebody told you no at some point and you believed them and you just kind of gave up on it. And having these women in front of me, and they're not seeing me, they're seeing themselves through the lens. So that's getting them past that and getting them into something that's like distraction, excited. They can't wait to, go home and like open up their watercolors again or whatever it is that makes them happy. It absolutely makes me happy. So I love it. I love what I do. And I love the women in front of my camera.
Wow, it sure shows it really comes through when you're talking about the transformation that you see when you get somebody in front of you and you see them through the lens.
Yeah.
So, have you ever thought of taking this to a level of, I know that I think most people who are camera shy or feeling like, well, I don't want to be the one in front of the camera, even for a still shot, are
Hmm.
definitely also, it seems like everybody these days is comfortable doing the selfies and the videos. But when it comes to promoting your business, no matter what it is, including an art business, it
Yeah.
seems like people are really video camera shy. And I'm wondering if you see any interest in the future in coaching people to get comfortable on video. I'm just
I
curious.
actually would love to do that. It's definitely the future. It's definitely, where everything is headed. Of course, we're still always going to need stills, but
Yep.
video is, it really is the future. No, I would love to. And video is a whole nother thing. Still photography is going to it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel, like, I don't stand like this. I don't hold myself like this. I don't smile like this in real life, but it's going to look good. Video, video is the opposite. Like you have to be very natural on video or it just doesn't sell. And I think a lot of us as creatives and as artists, we hate talking about ourselves. To our detriment. We're really good at selling other people. We are terrible about selling ourselves and being comfortable talking about ourselves, whether it's on camera or not. And that's something that I had to definitely grow out of pretty quick, or it wasn't going to be a career. So it's something that's scary. It's something that's it takes a lot to kind of get over yourself. It's one of those fake it till you make it things, and eventually you just get comfortable with it.
Yeah. Well, if you decide to go there, not that you would even need to at this point. I mean, I'm sure you're quite busy with all of your pursuits, but if anybody could pull people out of the shell to succeed at that, I can tell that you could.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So, what was the number one thing that you found women were worried about when they arrived at your photography studio in having their photos taken?
Mhm. Honestly, it's the women who are probably my age, maybe a little older, who did not grow up in the selfie world. Like we did not have cell phones. We did not take pictures of ourselves. Our mothers told us not to, make a spectacle of ourselves. We just did not have this confidence that these younger generations coming up have, who I am so excited for. I think they're going to rule the world. I'm super excited for it. Because these young women they know exactly what to do. They are, you pull out a camera and they know exactly what to do, and it is awesome. But for those of us that are, a little older, we don't have that. And a lot of times we're hiding behind our kids in pictures, or we're hiding in the back of the group, or, we just don't think that we're photogenic. And when I'm doing headshots, I don't know how to smile. So it's coaching through how to emote and cracking jokes to make sure that we're getting real smiles and not just, cheese, and if it's not, like, if you're a lawyer, let's say, you don't want like a big cheesy grin, you're going to want something a little more serious, and that's actually harder to do. So coaching them through that. And then for my clients who are in for boudoir, there's just a lot. There's a lot of confidence issues, it's mostly weight related. Like a lot of us are afraid that we're going to look, bigger than we think we are, or, worried about those 10 pounds or whatever. I tell people all the time that I'm good for 20 pounds in lighting and posing alone. So don't worry about it. And of course, there is, of course, editing and retouching and all of that. I try and use the lightest hand possible, though, because I really believe that at the end of the day, your picture should look like you, just on the best day that you ever had. So, so there is a little bit there, but not to make you look plastic. Like nobody wants that or needs that. So it's kind of a fine line to toe. But yeah, women we struggle with our confidence for sure.
Definitely. Can you tell whether you encounter a lot of body dysmorphia? Because you're looking at the person objectively, you haven't seen them before, they look at themselves every day. A lot of women struggle with body dysmorphia, and they think that they look vastly different than
Yep.
they objectively do.
Absolutely. And again, that's because we're looking at ourselves from our own point of view, and we aren't seeing ourselves from other people's point of view. And it's hard to get women out of that. It's really hard. One of the things that I do is I'm working on shooting tethered. I really do want a screen up so that they can absolutely see while we're shooting what's happening, so that they know that I'm taking care of them and that they look good. So right now I do a lot of showing the back of the camera, like, here's why we're doing this. Here's how you look. It's good to do that. And a lot of photographers are afraid because, of course, the final edits aren't on it, but people can usually see past that. So there's a lot of that. And then for headshots, if I'm having a little trouble getting them to warm up, especially if they think that they're unphotogenic, I have this tool called a true mirror. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's awesome. It is two mirrors butted up against each other at a 45-degree angle. And what it does is it irreverses the mirror effect. So you are looking at yourself like other people see you. And what happens is your brain thinks that you are looking at not just yourself, but at somebody directly in front of you. Because, even if you're looking in the mirror, you're seeing other things going around. You're focusing in on things that you don't like about yourself. If you're looking at your phone, even if you could flip it, like your brain is looking at all the notifications and all the buttons and all the things that are on there, and you're not really registering that it's you. So when you're looking in this mirror, all of a sudden it's reversed for you because you're used to seeing yourself one way. And all of a sudden, those things that you hate about yourself aren't there because you're looking at yourself in a brand new way, and you'll see, oh my God, I see what people say now. I do look like my mom, or I do look like, whoever. And I can't believe I was worried about that scar because you barely notice it. And using that, even like before we even start shooting, it's like a magic wand. People just they're like, okay, I trust you. Let's do this. It's pretty cool.
That is interesting because I noticed that even on Zoom, you have the option to mirror your video.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah. People get
guessing,
uncomfortable when they can't do that.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking is, my gosh, people are really uncomfortable without being able to see themselves on camera the way they see
Yeah,
themselves in the mirror. It's
yeah,
disconcerting on some level. But from
yeah.
what you've said, it really helps them become more objective and appreciate their appearance in a
It
positive
does.
light.
They have to be in the right mood for it too. Like if they're not quite there, you maybe don't want to do it only because they have to be in a happy mood. But usually they are. So it's okay. It's a positive thing.
I think that's a really interesting point, though. So, how are you able to get women comfortable in front of the camera? I know you talk to them, you get them laughing. I mean, if you encounter this kind of body dysmorphia, does it have to do with just reassuring them verbally and showing them at what point do you notice that is there a certain amount of minutes in that they tend to relax? Do you have to give them
Yeah.
whiskey? I mean,
We do offer wine, but typically it's after the first outfit. So we do a 5 outfit session, and I do that on purpose. And we start with the outfit they are least excited about and go to the one that they are most excited about. And after that first outfit, and I have a system, like especially for headshots, like we have our top 10 poses, and then we add one, and then we add one, and then we add one. And once they kind of get it, and they see what we're doing, they feel better about it because they know what to expect. They know what we're asking. They trust that, I'm looking at the whole picture. My assistant is making sure their hair is good, that nothing's caught in their eyelashes, that, their necklaces are straight. So she's the detail person. And once we start going and I'm giving them instruction on how to pose and what to do and how to hold yourself and okay, here, and then I take the shot, they're distracted. They are concentrating on what I'm asking them to do and not on how awkward they feel. So, once they warm up, and nobody ever picks the first outfit pictures, like I know that I'm just doing it to practice. Like I know they aren't going to buy them, but it does warm them up and it does help with their, okay, I see what you're doing. I trust you. Once you get that trust, it's much easier. It's much easier to work with people.
so that first outfit is the warm up.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So, what does a profile picture say about the subject? I mean, it's not just a snapshot.
No, it is not. It can say, let's say you own a balloon business. Those have to be fun. They have to be out of the box. They have to be creative. They have to be happy. They have to be a lot of like, give me a great big fake, and then of course it turns into a real smile. But getting those like big laughs and big smiles, like those are what we want to say about somebody who owns a fun business, like a party planning or a balloon or whatever it is. And then you work through all the way to, lawyer or CEO or whoever it is. And those are going to be much different. Those are usually no smile. Those are usually all in the eyes. And it's direct eye contact and it's, lifting your lower lids and making sure that you are saying something without saying something. And those are actually a lot harder to do because you don't want to look mean. You don't want, your resting bitch face. And you just, it's a tough corner to get into. But, once you can kind of get there and get them to emote through their eyes, they don't lose it. And a lot of them, once they're higher up, partners or, whatever, a lot of them have already done this a million times and they kind of know. So it's usually not impossible. But it can be very hard, especially when, you're not able to crack a joke because you don't want them to look too happy. You want them to look trustworthy and serious and approachable. And that's a hard line to toe.
That's a good point that, you want them to look like who they are, but send the
Mhm.
message of the position they're holding, but be approachable at the same time. And it's like playing Jenga.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because and they don't all work. I'll give them 30 to 50 images and maybe top 10 those will be the ones that actually really told the story. And that's, I mean, picture says 1,000 words, like that whole thing, but it's true. Like you do have a story to tell in your eyes and in your expression, and that is what people are seeing. It's a lot of fun to figure out. It's definitely a challenge, but it is so worth it when you get there.
Now, how about figuring out the right angle to take the photo? Many people feel like not a full face front angle shot makes them feel slimmer.
Right.
I know as a portrait artist of oils and paint that the interesting angle, I know it's a different animal though, would be more of the Rembrandt shot where it's more of a three-quarter view and you're getting that Rembrandt light triangle and
Yeah.
photography is different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
you,
not though. That's the thing. Like
it's not.
we study the masters. We study
Okay.
that whole thing because I mean Rembrandt especially, like
Right.
he was a true master. He knew exactly what to do with light and with angles and oh my God. Yeah. No, we do strive for that. But it depends on the job and it depends on what you're doing it for. So like an executive might have a Rembrandt lighting picture and something a little more creative. But somebody who's, rising and trying to look for a job and maybe just out of grad school, you want your full face. The So I see a lot of people make a lot of mistakes, especially on LinkedIn. And once in a while, my husband has a corporate job, and once in a while, I'll see on his little Zoom screen people's headshots, and I'm like, oh my God, how is this? How are they doing this? Like, and these people are all pretty high up. So I'm like, oh no. But the right angle is going to depend on you. So the angles are going to be a lot different for men than for women. And for women, typically, if you are doing the full face headshot, you want to be right above the eye line. It does kind of slim you out a little bit, but it also it's very flattering. You don't want to be looking up anybody's nose. You don't want to like kind of get into the chin, and it just kind of what's the right word? It gets in. That not Fibonacci, but there's that guide that you have that's like,
Yes.
here's what the perfect beauty face looks like, right? And it gets closer to that.
I think it is probably Fibonacci.
It might be.
The spiral and the golden ratio and the golden mean and all that.
Yeah.
So what's the number one mistake you see over and over in women's profile photos?
The stand against the wall headshot that somebody takes with their cell phone.
Like a mugshot?
Yeah. Yeah. Because once in a while, like companies get in their heads and they're like, oh, we can do this. We have all the settings and the filters and everything on our phones. And we do. Like our cameras on our phones now are way better than what I started with. Like professionally. So they are good cameras, but it doesn't make you a good photographer. So standing away from the wall, like make sure you have at least 3 feet, shooting above your eye line just a little bit. So make sure somebody is either doing that for you or you are doing it yourself. And not like relax. Like if you're not in the mood for it, don't do it. Like, it's not going to work out. You're going to be unhappy. So being really, really stiff. And then The last ones that I see a lot and way too often are, oh, I look really good in this picture from this wedding, and I'm wearing this off the shoulder dress, and a headshot is cut up from here. You look naked. And those are the ones that I'm like, oh, honey,
Yeah.
let's just cover the shoulders. But with AI coming in, and it's not there yet. Like, I'm not afraid I'm going to lose my job. But with the AI headshots and everything coming in, like people are experimenting, people are trying to, see what they can do themselves. And if you can get there, great. Like, perfect. But if you can't, call a professional, and don't use your sister's wedding picture, please.
That is a good point. Yeah. Awkward. So let's talk about posing for the camera in real life situations, such as, for example, when an artist needs to get out there and be on camera or video for, say, social media or marketing their work.
Yeah. So for stills, you want to be as creative as possible. You want to be doing definitely the Rembrandt. You want to be doing Annie Leibovitz. You want black and whites, maybe. Something maybe higher key or lower key. Just kind of get into your own vibe depending on what you do. And you don't need props, but like if you are a painter, maybe having an easel behind you or what, you don't want the corny, like fold your arms and hold your paintbrushes maybe, but you can get creative with it. If, stills are going to be a lot easier than video. For video, you're going to want to make sure that you definitely have the right light all the time. And video light is tough, especially with LEDs now because they blink. And sometimes the camera is faster than the LED. So you're going to get like spottiness once in a while. You want to make sure that your light temperature is right. So like if you're using older video lights, they can be really yellow. Compared to the LEDs, which are more blue. So you want to watch your temperature, making sure that you have you want your key light, you want your 45s, you want to be well lit at all times. And then if you are going to have somebody motion with the camera, get a gimbal, like invest in a gimbal. You can get them on eBay for like $100. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it because you don't want camera shake and you want everything nice and smooth. And if you're using a still camera, get a tripod, make sure that you're set up above your eye line, and go from there. And honestly, like test it out, like make sure that you have everything right. Don't just jump into it and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll get there, I guess. But, take the time to practice with it. And, one trick that I had to learn, especially with portrait photography, if I didn't always have a model around, bananas. Bananas are great because they're a lot like human skin on the banana skin. And if you are thinking about doing it yourself, doing your own video, doing your own, still photography, and you need to practice and you don't have the model, working on fruit is fantastic. It really, because it's not too shiny, it's not super porous. So it's actually pretty close.
So do you put makeup on the banana?
You can. I mean, if you want to.
So what exactly? But the banana's yellow.
Yes, it is. Which color wise, that's an issue. But to get lighting, like if you can get around the temperature,
Okay.
and you're just practicing shadows and highlights and that's where you want to be. But yeah, it doesn't work for color temperature.
Like,
and color temperature is going to differ for, race as well, or, different
right.
skin tones. I definitely cannot use the same lighting I use on somebody as pale as I am, as I do for a woman of color. So, making sure that you're getting the right advice for your skin tone and for your angles and what you want to show is really important.
So tell me, what advice do you have from your experience in the photography industry and kind of your crossover into a little bit of coaching for listeners for accepting themselves as is and getting past body image and aging with grace?
Yeah. Aging with grace is a big one.
That's not asking a lot.
It's I mean, lip fillers and cheek fillers and, Botox and whatever else you're going to do. Um, it's hard because we're told from day one how unworthy we are. Like we have, especially those of us that grew up before, like the 80s, the 70s, we
Yep.
have these ads everywhere of these supermodels that you are never going to be, telling you that unless you're buying this thing or using that thing or are this way or whatever, you don't even matter. Like, don't do it. I'm glad things are changing. We're not quite there yet. But yeah, it's tough. And aging myself now, I'm in my mid 40s and I'm like, all right, we're here. This is what we're doing. But the biggest thing that I have found for myself and for other people that I know that do this, taking a selfie every day of yourself and posting it and writing something about what you like about yourself today. It
Wow.
makes a huge difference. It is scary as hell. It is something that is extremely hard to do. But by the end of 90 days, you are going to feel so much better about yourself. And the hardest part about that is not just your face. Stand in a full length mirror, take a selfie, and not on the guise of, oh my god, here's my before picture that I did this weight loss thing and here's my after. Don't do that to yourself. Be happy with who you are now, because that's who you got to live with the rest of your life. And once you can kind of accept yourself and be there with yourself, all the rest of the stuff follows. I've seen women who struggled for decades with their weight or with their skin or whatever it is, and all of a sudden everything clears up and they're feeling much better, whether they've lost the weight or not, or whatever it is. They like themselves, and that shows. That is what people are drawn to and what they want to see in you to be authentic. And yeah, it's hard, but it can't just be for you. You have to be brave enough to let everybody see it. And then if you look back at those pictures from the beginning of the 90 days to the 90 day, your face is going to completely change. You're going to see a true smile. You're going to see connection in your eyes. You are going to actually like who you are. And I love it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I will think about that. Although I have to say, being a podcaster and switching over to video interviews, because
Yeah.
I used to do them on Skype back in the day. And Zoom came along and, during COVID knocked Skype right out of the water.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
was much more stable with regard to buffering. So here we are on
Yes.
video. And that has helped me a lot because in the beginning, I just wasn't used to seeing myself on video.
Right.
So that was a big help. And like you mentioned earlier, you've mentioned health issues, and I did have some health scares and things like that have turned out okay, thank God. But, when that happened, that did have a big impact on me because it gave me a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
it
people
does.
will say, oh, it's Monday, or, they are, thank God it's Friday. Oh God, it's Monday, people. And I can't live like that. If I don't like my job to that degree, I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
No, you
say to them,
can't.
you know
It'll kill
what?
you.
Every day above ground's a good day. And I'm
Yeah.
just glad to be here. And
Yeah.
at this point, aging's looking pretty good because the
Yeah.
option is not where I
Right.
want to go right now. So there's some perspective right there.
Yeah, for sure. There's nothing like a good health scare to
Amen,
get you
sister.
thinking in a whole other way. Yeah.
Yep. I would like for you to elaborate on how you teach women to discover their purpose,
Ah,
segueing into the idea of how you ended up getting involved in purpose and how you teach them to discover it in minutes rather than months or years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really easy. We all know the answer to the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? You just have to kind of think back to it. And not everybody gets it right away. They're like, I have no idea what I said when I was 5. Some people do, some people don't. So getting to, but what gives you joy? What makes you, where is your happy place? What makes you thrive? Is it writing? Is it walking on the beach? Is it hiking? It doesn't have to be, painting or photography, or it doesn't have to be like a traditional creative art. It can be something as simple as I want to be in the woods all the time and be a bog witch. So it isn't hard to get people to talk about what they love. And that's your purpose is whatever you want it to be. And that's kind of the trick is that it doesn't have to be, you're not destined necessarily to do this one thing. It's whatever you want it to be and whatever sparks your joy, and it can change. And it doesn't have to be, I'm a, let's just say, painter for the last, 20 years of my life, and I'm getting bored. And that's okay, because you can change it up. You can do whatever you want. You can write, you can cook, you can find other points of interest. And people, I think, get scared because, of course, they've been told, no, you can never make a living at this. But you don't have to. You don't have to make a living at it. If it gives you happiness and it sparks you and it keeps you going, then just do it. Who cares? If nobody sees it, oh well, it made you happy to do. And I think that's where we get stuck is in our, especially women, in our perfectionism. This isn't good enough. It'll never be good enough. I just suck. Like all of those things, and getting to a place of, it's okay. It's okay if I suck. It makes me happy. I don't care.
Yeah, I like that. And for me, I mix it up just because my day job is the commercial end of
Yeah.
design and video and media and all of that. And sometimes it's illustration and drawing by hand. But in pursuing all the different things, whether they're related to my art or not, my fine art, which is where my passion is, they enrich my fine art so that I don't get bored. And I find
Right.
that it kind of fills out the whole picture. And it
Yeah.
also helps me to look at other things that are not related with curiosity all the time. And that keeps me from burning out because it might fill in another part of the picture that leads me to think of, something, a new way to approach it, and so I think that these things feed off each other and support each other so that you can stay engaged and
Yeah.
avoid burnout.
For sure. And everything's connected. Everything is like you are not where you are without your story and your history. And who knows where you'll be, but it all works out. It all like, if I didn't go through what I went through as a young woman and, a young mom, I wouldn't be here for sure. Like I would have listened to people and just been, yeah, you're right. I can't make a living at that. So it's good to appreciate where you are and how you got there, and recognize the synchronicities in it, and growing. And we're all growing.
Yep, the growth mindset. I think that's important to know that you can change and you can evolve into different areas of interest.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. And people have a hard time with that. Like, why would you change if you're not getting bad feedback, right? Like,
Right.
you don't change unless you have a reason normally. And getting past that and just being like, you know what, I think I could be better, or I do have this interest, and I am just going to go for it and be the best I can. And however that works, it's, usually it works out because you're being authentic and people see that, and they love that. If you're fake, you can smell it a mile away. So if you're being true to who you are, you're going to succeed whether you think you're good at your art or not.
I agree with you. And I think that that discomfort too, when you don't have an easy time with learning something or you have a bad day in your craft, those are the times that you're growing. And it's important to, I think, let yourself feel what you're feeling about it if you're disappointed or you feel discouraged, but then step back and say, well, if I've hit a nerve and something is not coming easily for me, or I'm feeling that pushback inside my own head of, sometimes you have a hard day and you're not really sure what it was that upset you, but if you stop and you try to be objective and look at it and take it apart, you can
Mm,
have an epiphany and actually step up to the next level if you accept that it's okay to have a crappy day and
yeah,
it's okay to go, I am really not okay right now. I don't feel good, and track back to what was that moment? Did somebody say something? Did a project you worked on not come as easily or not turn out the way you wanted? And then
hmm,
use it as a point to focus on and as objectively as you can without judgment on yourself. Look for opportunities to get past it in
yeah,
some way that will help you to step up to the next level of skill or comfort with
yeah.
that practice.
For sure. And you touched on so many things that I tell people a lot. So like we don't grow without failure. Um, I am married to somebody who is a certified genius. He's very, very, very smart, and he does not fall on his ass very often. And when he does, it's the end of the world. Whereas I fall on my butt all the time, and I'm just used to it, and I roll with it. He has a much harder time rolling with it and not getting into his own head. So failure helps. We don't get gritty unless we're not good at something. We have to be, you have to get better at it. So I'm a big fan of I I suck today. I learned my lesson. I can move on and I can grow from this, but it takes a while to get there. We're not easy on ourselves. So there's that.
I think it's important to give yourself grace.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. Done is better than perfect.
Amen.
And yeah, and definitely give yourself grace. Forgive yourself. Like, it's okay. It's rarely a life or death situation. And you know what? You're doing your best and you'll get there. It's okay.
It is. And actually, part of my own therapy as an artist, my art therapy, was expanding into the realm of cartoon,
Mm,
where I turned myself and my family into cartoon characters. And so if I really screwed up or something just outrageous happened that just wrecked my day or my week or whatever, sometimes I would just turn it into a cartoon, and looking back at it, it's funny.
yeah. Oh, God, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you're like, darn,
Yeah.
I got a good cartoon out of this.
Yeah, my stepdaughter is a very talented drawer, like artist drawer, and she often does cartoons like that. Like something awful will happen, and we think it's whatever. We get into a fight or whatever, and she turns it into this funny like, well, here's you,
Yep.
you know. Yeah, it's great. I love it. It is a good therapy because it does make you see the ridiculousness in what we think is serious.
Oh, yeah. Because when you look at it from the outside in, looking in, it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about, you have techniques for overcoming fear of anything.
I
Spill.
do. Yes. Yeah, so that comes into a lot of my health issues. So I'm immune deficient. I get sick all the time, and it lands me in the hospital. I've had cancer twice. I have BRCA2, which I had all the surgeries to prevent breast cancer and ovarian cancer and all of that. Once you've kind of like my whole body is a scar at this point, and once you've kind of been through that kind of stuff, you're not afraid of anything anymore. except heights. So
That one doesn't
yeah,
go away, people
it
say.
really doesn't. Yeah, no.
Although loud
But
noises is hard too for me still.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I startle really easily. I'm small and easy to kill, so
Yeah.
it's one of those things that
And
I'm
I'm
just
not very
like,
fast.
yeah, no, no, no. I'm not surviving anything. Um, but yeah, so it's getting people to talk about what they've been through. What everybody has a trauma story. Everybody like it, and it doesn't like don't compare yourself to other people because there's always going to be somebody with a worse trauma story than you have. Um, and it's about how you survived it and how you got over it. And if you didn't, how you are trying to better yourself to get there. And once you can kind of dig into, I can't believe that this horrible thing happened to you, and being empathetic and sympathetic, but not to a point of playing like the blame game. Like, oh, you're right. Your parents suck. Your siblings suck. Like, oh, you're right. You're totally right to feel this way. And getting them to kind of open up and be like, okay, but what lesson is here for me? And I learned this a long time ago. When you're upset with somebody, when you get into a fight with a friend, or somebody says something that just like, oh, I can't believe they said that, and it really bothers you, it's a mirror. It's something that you are also maybe doing, and getting that reflection to, oh, this bothers me because I know I do this, and I hate that I do this. And once you can get there, you can start to grow and get past it. And that's a lot of trauma stuff, because of school, because of, Mean Girls, because of all the things that we kind of go through as women. And once we can get to a place where it's like everything has a lesson for you, and don't worry about them, and forgiveness is key of yourself and of others, and moving on and past it, you learn not to be afraid of things. You don't have to have all the health issues.
Right. And I think that's the healthy angle of it's all about you or it's all
It
about
is.
me,
Yeah.
where people say, we're so used to hearing it's not about you. But if you think in terms of what in this struggle is meant for me to step onto to raise myself up higher,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
that helps.
And it does. And it's really, really hard to get there, especially if you've been in the everything bad happens to me cycle of, we've all been there. Everything happens to me, and I can't get ahead, and it's not my fault. It's everybody else's fault. Once you can kind of recognize that that's what you're doing and you can move past it, that's when growth and loss of fear and all that other good life stuff happens.
Yeah, I think that objectivity of,
Yeah.
stepping back, again, it's the balance between this is all about me in what I can learn from it to benefit myself. And then the other half of that coin is let's step back and objectively look at this thing happened. We don't have to focus on this is traumatic and all of the impact on you and how bad it's wrecking you, because that is kind of amplifying the effect, but saying, okay, I can honor that I'm upset and that happened. It's not bad to go through that, but to put a stopping point and say, okay, let's take a minute and consciously flip the switch and go, let's zoom way out and look at this and go, oh, look at that event.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at it from a point of view of someone watching a documentary.
Yep.
What happened? What might it mean for me? It happened to me, but what can I learn from it
Mm-hmm.
as a lesson and take away from it that might give me some kind of benefit? Where's the diamond
Yeah.
under all of that?
Yeah. Separating yourself from all of it, separating yourself from the victim mentality of all of this happens to me and it's not my fault and nothing will ever change, to going into it's a story that I have, but it's not my story anymore. And that's a huge, huge shift, and very, very hard to do. And once you can get there, you're good. You're usually good for a while, and then you slip back into it, and then you got to reteach yourself all of that stuff. But have grace. That's the thing. It's all a process, and you're not going to be perfect, and it's okay.
Yes, it's absolutely okay. And I think that's important, the point you were making about looking at it, separating yourself. So I call it zooming in and zooming out. So
Mm,
like allowing yourself a limited period of time to feel what you're feeling, freak out if you need to. I mean, within, safe confines of safety. Um, but honor how it's affecting you, but then consciously, like you said, make that decision to step back, zoom out. And um, Miller wrote a really good book called
mm,
QBQ. So it's the question behind the question. And he talks about asking better questions to get to the next layer.
yes. Oh,
So
I love
it's
that.
that, yeah, and it's really helpful. And initially was written as I believe as a business book, but then all these people kept coming to him and saying, "Yeah, but this applies to my parenting and personal," and then he wrote one for parents, and it's great because what he talks about is asking the right questions. So instead of saying when and why did this person say something mean to me? When are they going to treat me better? To zoom out and say, what can I do? So you take the accountability to have a better outcome next time. Where can I step in and have some ownership of the situation, and how,
Yeah.
instead of saying when or why, is how. How can I contribute to the outcome of the situation to move me in the right direction? And so I will definitely put a link to Miller's book because that is
Oh, yeah.
helpful in digging deeper.
Absolutely. And the how is so hard. The how is so hard. Because you can look with all the reflection and all the okay, separation and here's the lesson, but how do I move forward? And that's going to be very individual. It's going to be completely up to you and whatever's right for your situation. And very, very hard to come to a conclusion on because you're going to be constantly questioning yourself if it was the right thing to do.
True, and it sounds like to me when we're talking about this that we're both thinking in terms of big life changes. I think it's going to be a combination of that objective and subjective in doing the research to find out, say, if it's a career move, gather all the information and all the objective stuff, and then to avoid analysis paralysis, go back to your subjective mind and say, what, bring in your instinct and your own radar to say what feels right among these choices for me, and honor
Mhm.
that and incorporate it. And don't, I recommend that you don't sit there and judge. If you're going to go back to the subjective, your own input at that point,
Mhm.
incorporate it and try to listen to that as kind of a way to guide your sales.
Yeah.
The sales on a ship, not selling
Oh,
something,
gotcha.
but
Yeah.
you know try to really help direct yourself toward the right choice. Is go back to that intuition and see if you can't give yourself a little bit of direction by tuning into who you are and what
Yeah.
does matter to you. Go back to your values and, bounce it off of your values, things like that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, no one wants a rudderless ship.
Right, right.
Yeah. And sometimes letting go of the how and just kind of sitting with it, like just meditate on it. And it doesn't have to be, hours long meditation. It can just be, okay, this happened, and think about it for a few days or even weeks and it'll come, like we all have that intuition that we never listen to. It'll come.
I agree with that, and I meditate. My listeners know I'm big on meditation,
Mm,
and as a creative, I find that it really helps me to dig deeper and to hear my own inner voice
yeah.
and to help clear out the clutter. And the more I do it, I don't set a goal of a certain amount of time, but having done it for long periods, for many years, that I do find that when I'm under, and I might seem like I'm sleeping even, but I'm fully aware, the longer I want to do it. I don't want to come
Yeah.
back. So when
Yeah.
it's really good, you'll want to stay under and you'll want to continue and you'll
For
find that
sure. Yes.
benefit.
I agree 100%. I've been practicing for a while.
Yeah.
And it is hard to start. It really is. But if you start even a couple of minutes a day, I, if you can get there, it is such a happy place to be.
Yeah, the more you get used to it and the more you practice consistent meditation, at least for me, even if it was hard to start, now it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
I crave
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah,
do.
me too.
So our conversation has kind of evolved a little bit, which might seem like it's moving away from our creative listeners, but I don't believe that's true because, especially for creatives, we tend to be sensitive to the energies around us. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I'm generalizing, but we tend to be perceptive. And a lot of times artists get in their own way because they are judging themselves and they are beating themselves up and they are reacting and feeling like they can't get in front of the camera, or how can I promote my art because I'm so self-conscious I don't want to get on the video. All of these things, developing the ability to get comfortable in your own skin
Hmm.
and be objective and all of the things we're talking about will help you in not only finding your sea legs as to what your artistic voice is, but then promoting it because you have to. At some point, you can use your art as just a hobby. That's nothing wrong with that. But if you're one of the listeners looking to also make sales so that you can bring in some more income to do more of the art you love, then these things will help you move forward.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Yeah. No, it's tied really tightly with creativity because if you can't move past whatever it is that's in your background that you're just, I'm still feeling this, I'm still feeling this way about it, you're going to stifle anything new that's going to come in.
I
You're not
agree.
going to be able to you're not going to be able to grow with your art. So it's important for that self-reflection. I think that's probably one of the more important things with creativity.
I think so too. And for me, this has been applicable in discovering how best I create according to the
Mm,
things that keep me moving forward. For example, if I'm too long in my studio, too many days in a row, I get really lonely.
yeah.
And recognizing your triggers or the things that help you to be creative will help you find the right setup to incorporate more of your creative practice in your life.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. And it's most of us, I think, that are in the arts we consider ourselves probably introverted. I know I do. My social battery like runs out really quick.
Me too.
But I still need people. I still need to feel that connection. And you don't get that even over Zoom. Like you really need to be with people in order to feel that way.
Elizabeth, it's been an absolute privilege to speak with you today. So I want you to tell our listeners about your new book, Unbroken, Finding Your Purpose Beyond Trauma. And I want you to share how it can be of help to artists.
Yeah, I thank you very much. It has been an honor talking to you, and I absolutely have had a blast. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. So yeah, the book came. It's been a whole project. It's not perfect, but it's done. I've been working on it for about 3 years, and it was tough to kind of dig into my own trauma and moving past it and learning what makes other people tick and how they can get past their own stuff. And without joy, without, you know, I came from a place where I was divorced. I had no money. I had to feed my kids. I, had no car. So we had to walk to the food bank in the snow I live in Buffalo. It's not fun. So it's coming from that place and working two jobs and not having any time because you have little kids and all of that stuff. It will kill you. It will absolutely kill you. I completely blame all of those years on why I got cancer, and not inviting any kind of joy and any kind of creativity into your life is going to be a detriment to your life. And of course, I'm a white woman. I know that I, had the privilege of that. And I know it's much more difficult for, women of color and people in different situations. But I promise you can do it. And I promise you're going to be 100% happier if you are finding something that you enjoy doing, that you do at least once a week, and make time for yourself to do it. It's the whole put your own mask on before assisting others. You got to feed yourself, and it's got to be something that you love, or you're going to sit in your office foreclosing on people's homes and hating your life and just working for the weekend. And it's our capitalist society that's kind of, driving all of that. But there's a lot in the book about how to get past it, how to use it as a positive thing, how to grow from it, and how to get back to what makes you happy. And it doesn't have to be your career. It's just making you happy. And that's what matters. It's in our Constitution. We're allowed to be happy.